Welcome to News 9 Live, and you are watching On Point with me. Before I introduce you to today's On Points, let's take a quick look at the headlines. Prime Minister Modi and Spanish Prime Minister Sanchez inaugurate C-295 aircraft plant in Vadodara. Three terrorists killed after foil attack on army vehicle in Jammu. Centre likely to begin population census in 2025 with Lok Sabha delimitation exercise set for 2028. Opposition members walk out of Waqf panel meet, rejoin later. DMK says actor Vijay party principles are copy. AIDMK terms it old wine in new bottle. Pappu Yadav seeks security upgrade, cites threat from Lawrence Bishnoi gang. Priyanka Gandhi kicks off bipole campaign in Wayanad. Clear. Punjab sees 50% dip in post-harvest farm fires, yet no effect on Delhi's air quality. Israeli military issues evacuation order for large parts of Lebanese port city Tyre. In this edition of On Point, we will decode the key factors that can shape the upcoming Maharashtra Assembly elections. What are the 6 big issues that will decide the fate of the parties? We have divided the entire show in 6 segments. But before we get into the discussion, let me play out Nana Patola and Jishan Siddique's bite from TV9 Satta Sammelan, where who's and who of Maharashtra are going to present, from Devendra Fadnavis to Eknath Shinde to Supriya Sule. Let's quickly play in these bites and let's get into the debate. What are the big 6 issues actually changing the shape of Maharashtra elections?
देखो, हर पार्टी का, हर नेताओं का अलग-अलग स्वभाव होता है. तो शिव सेना का उद्धव ठाकरे साहब के जो संगठन है, उसका एक अलग सिस्टम में काम करने का. आखिर उनके सिस्टम को हम थोड़ी उसको नाम रखेंगे. आखिर हमारा अलायंस है, हम अलायंस को लेकर चलना ये हमारी जवाबदारी है. तो अलायंस हमारा जीते, सब जगह जीते, ये हमारी भूमिका है. तो ठीक है, लास्ट टाइम हमने लॉस किया उद्धव ठाकरे साहब के संगठन ने. इस बार हमारा उम्मीद है कि वो इस बार अच्छा प्रदर्शन करेगी. संजय राउत मीटिंग में क्या बोलते हैं, क्या करते हैं, हमें पता है. मीडिया में क्या बोलते हैं वो आपको पता है. तो मैं उसमें जाना नहीं चाहता. अब हमारा स्वभाव ऐसा है कि हम नेशनल पार्टी है, हमारी जवाबदारियां हैं, हमारे अलायंस को साथ लेके चलना, और वो हम कर रहे हैं. ये लोगों को, मेरे को यही कहना है कि ये लोगों को संविधान ही मानने नहीं है जो लोगों से इस तरह से बात करते हैं. एक संविधानिक पद पे बैठे हुए होम मिनिस्टर महाराष्ट्र के, एक सीएम होने के वाला व्यक्ति अगर वोट जिहाद बोलते हैं तो इनकी जो दिमाग की, तो आप लोगों ने तो ये करना ही चाहिए, इनका इलाज करना चाहिए दिमाग का. लोगों को वोट मारने के लिए लोग रोक सकते हैं, लोगों को वोट मारने के लिए मना कर सकते हैं. अब उसको वोट जिहाद अगर ये बोलते हैं तो मुझे बड़ा इन लोगों के ऊपर बड़ी क्या बोलते हैं उसको हिंदी में, दया आती है इनके ऊपर मेरे को. वोट जिहाद ये कैसा बोल सकते हैं ये लोग?
बहुत सारी चीज़ें दिमाग में चल ज़रूर रही है, पर मुझे लगता है मेरे पिताजी ने, मेरे पापा ने हमेशा मुझे ऐसी ही परवरिश दी है कि कभी भी मैदान में लड़ाई अधूरी हमें छोड़नी नहीं है। तो उनके कदमों पर चलकर, मेरे रगों में उनका खून चल रहा है, तो लड़ाई लड़ूंगा और मुझे उम्मीद है कि वांदे पूर्व की जनता मेरा काम देख के, मेरे परिवार के बलिदान देख के मुझे ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा वोट से जिताएगी। 2019 में मैं जब चुन के आया था, मैं एक 27 साल का नौजवान था, पूरे महाराष्ट्र में यंगेस्ट एमएलए चुन के आया था। हमने चुनाव लड़ा था शिवसेना के अगेंस्ट, शिवसेना उब्बट्टा के अगेंस्ट, और फिर परिस्थिति ऐसी आई कि हमें उनके साथ अलायंस करना पड़ा, जो एक अननेचुरल अलायंस तब भी था, अब भी है महाविकास अघाड़ी में। और जब हमने अलायंस किया, तब मुझे याद है कि जब कांग्रेस के एमएलएस को जयपुर लेकर गया थे, तब हम 2 लोगों ने इसका विरोध किया था। आज जो वर्षा गायकवाड़ ताई है, उन्होंने भी जम के विरोध किया था महाविकास अघाड़ी का, मैंने भी विरोध किया था, क्योंकि उनके भी सामने धारावी में शिवसेना लड़ी थी, मेरे सामने भी शिवसेना लड़ी थी। तो सिर्फ हम दोनों ने जम के विरोध किया था। आज ताई प्रचार करती है महाविकास अघाड़ी का, मगर तब उन्होंने बहुत जम के विरोध किया था। महाविकास अघाड़ी में मेरे रहने के बावजूद शिवसेना ने मुझे बहुत परेशानी दी। मुझे फंड जो हर एक एमएलए को एलोकेट किया जाता था, मुझे नहीं मिलता था। मुझे कोई ओपनिंग्स के लिए नहीं बुलाया जाता था। प्रशासन को कहा जाता था कि ज़ीशान सिद्दीकी एक आमदार होने के नाते अगर आपसे कुछ भी कराए, बीएमसी हो या कुछ भी हो, तो आपको उसकी बातें नहीं सुननी है। तो बहुत कठिन था जब लोग कहते थे कि उनका काम क्यों नहीं हो रहा है, और महाविकास अघाड़ी के बाकी आमदारों को फंड मिलता था, पर मैं एक एक्सेप्शन था। तो हम आवाज़ उठाते थे, मीडिया में भी बोलते थे। तब दिल्ली से फ़ोन आते थे कि नहीं, अलायंस में गड़बड़ हो जाएगी, आप बोलिए मत। मेरे पिताजी भी तब भी बहुत उत्तेजित होते थे कि ये क्या हो रहा है, पर हमारा साथ किसी ने दिया नहीं। और बहुत सारे जो कांग्रेस के नेता हैं, उन्होंने कहा कि मुख्यमंत्री साहब की नज़र है आपकी सीट पर, तो हम कुछ नहीं कर सकते। तो वो सिलसिला तब से चालू हुआ, और अभी हाल ही में ख़त्म हुआ जब कांग्रेस ने अपनी ही सीट शिवसेना उब्बट्टा को दे दी, और जो भी मैं कह रहा था उसको मुझे प्रूव राइट किया।
Well, obviously, pretty upset with the behavior of his colleagues, and it is the reason why he says on TV9 Satta Ka Sammelan that he shifted out of the alliance. Now, coming back to the debate, and these bites will continue. We will dip into Piyush Goyal, we will dip into Devendra Fadnavis, we will dip into Eknath Shinde. But those 6 issues. The first is seat distribution. Is this election about seat distribution? There are 2 Shiv Senas, there are 2 NCPs with the nomination deadline just a few hours away for Maharashtra Assembly elections. Both ruling Mahayuti alliance and the opposition Mahavikas Aghadi are grappling with the last minute challenges in finalizing seat sharing arrangements. The Mahayuti alliance, which comprises of BJP, Shiv Sena, Eknath Shinde and NCP Ajit Pawar, have finalized seat sharing on 260 seats. 28 seats still remain under contention. MV on the other side, which comprises of Congress, Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray and NCP Sharad Pawar, have finalized seat sharing on 269 seats. 19 seats still remain under contention. The numbers aren't important, things can resolve quickly and get complicated again. Issue is, how has it worked on the ground? On this, I'm joined by Ajit Pawar, S. Balakrishnan, Executive Editor, Free Press Journal, and Sanjay Jog, Senior Journalist from Mumbai, and Brijesh Pandey, Newsline Live Editor. Straight away, I'll go to Brijesh. Brijesh, tell me, is this going to be the defining aspect of Maharashtra's election?
Well, I think, it also reflects the kind of complexity that is there on the ground. And that is the reason why, and both parties, both sides knows, MV and Mahayuti, that how important it is to win the state election of Maharashtra. And that is the reason why, it is going down to the wires, which is, on seat by seat, there are push and pull, which no party is willing to concede. And that is the reason why, despite tomorrow being the last day to file your nomination, there are approximately 26 seats, which the Mahayuti has to finalize, and 19-20 seats, which Mahavikas Aghadi has to finalize. I think by and large, these parties have sorted out their internal rifts. Earlier, the formula which was propagated as 85, 85, 85 by Mahavikas Aghadi, I think now the numbers have changed. The Congress party is in at 99, people say 100 also. And all, but the other parties have also changed the numerics. So the parties are, it's not that they are unaware of the reality on the ground, but it's going to be an extremely challenging and fascinating battle as far as ground Maharashtra is concerned.
Mr. Jog, is seat sharing the toughest part of the Maharashtra election? 2 Shiv Senas and 2 NCPs, making it the most complex assembly election?
Absolutely. Karthikeyan, initially after the Lok Sabha elections, there was such an atmosphere that everything will be sorted in few seconds. Nothing happened. Till now, Mahavikas and Mahayuti Aghadi are unable to, finalize the seat sharing agreement. What are the bone of contentions? There are so many claimants, like BJP is having claims and at least 7 to 8 seats. Same thing with Shiv Sena. In other Mahavikas Aghadi also, there were about 12 seats on which in Vidarbha, that too, a Congress's former bastion, Shiv Sena wanted to have its say there. So they went on, having a hard negotiation. Same thing with both NCP as well as NCP led by Ajit Pawar. And a different zone, they were expecting that they should get more seats, which has not happened. There were certain compromises. You won't believe, I have got a list, at least 7 seats. Now they have shortened down to basically 2 to 4 seats, where both Shiv Sena, UBT, as well as NCP have announced their candidature. So also, in case of today now, Akkalkua, which is a tribal dominated seat where the Shiv Sena has got its, in its quota, but the former MP, who is a daughter of a BJP minister, Hina Gavit, she has filed as an independent. So also, in Risod, in Washington district from again of Vidarbha, where BJP has certainly made huge inroads in the last 10 years, there the former Congress minister...
Okay, Mr. Jog, if I have to ask you, who's doing a better job? Is MY doing a better job, Mahayuti or Vikas Aghadi? Who's doing a better job of seat distribution?
No, both of them are definitely confused lot, I could say.
Okay, so basically you're saying that both of them are doing a bad job. So that's the proof of the pudding is in eating it, but that's the observation by Sanjay. Ajit, quick comment from you, then I move to the second agenda point.
See, the seat distribution is one problem which is common to both sides, right? But the important point here is that the Mahavikas Aghadi was starting with a psychological advantage because of the Lok Sabha results, right? I mean, they had won, 31 out of 48 seats, whereas the Mahayuti with 17. But, as things have unfolded in the few months after Lok Sabha, I think the Mahavikas Aghadi has started losing that advantage, other than the seat distribution. And that is one reason is this griping between Congress and, the Shiv Sena Uddhav Thackeray faction, open griping and factionalism within the Congress. But a much more important factor is this Revadi schemes by the Shinde government, especially that Ladli Behan scheme that they have done, which is like a 46,000 crore project. That I think has kind of brought a certain kind of leveling. Also remember that despite the fact that the Mahavikas Aghadi had done so well in Lok Sabha, if you look at the percentage vote between the two sides, that was not much. In fact, in 31 seats, the Mahavikas Aghadi had won with less than 5,000 votes. So the percentage vote difference was a bare minimum. So I think
you are saying that the selection of the candidate and the booth management will remain very important in Maharashtra, because instead of 2 against 2, it has become 3 against 3. And this has made the situation more complex even for psephologists, because suddenly you have players fragmenting into newer areas, which will make it tougher for them to account for traditional voters who were part of the NCP, who were part of the Shiv Sena. Now let me move to the second part, Maratha reservation. Now it's an issue, a sword that can cut both ways. It has added to BJP's challenge. On top of it, the Jaranga agitation is there. Marathas make up for 12 to 16% of the population and hold significant influence over 104 seats in Marathwada in western Maharashtra. In Marathwada, where the issue is the strongest, BJP-led alliance is also facing anger because of agrarian distress. In response, BJP is employing its Madha strategy to consolidate support among the backward Mali, Dhangar and Banjari communities to counter Maratha backlash. In case this strategy worked for BJP in Haryana, where they consolidated non-Jat votes against Jat votes. And let me begin with you, Ajit. Do you think that this Madha strategy can work? Because ultimately, it was BJP under Devendra Fadnavis, which at that point of time could not handle Maratha reservation issue.
You know, the Maratha agitation, obviously it was seen as fiercely anti-incumbency, especially in 2023, it was raging. But of late, I think Shinde has had lots of meetings, the BJP has had lots of meetings. And, you know, both the alliances of Maratha, Mahad and Muslims on the Maha Vikas Aghadi side, and the one that you explained, even among Dalits, like the Matang votes have moved towards the BJP. I think they seem to be evenly balanced, and I think purely based on the Maratha advantage, the MVA won't be able to cut much edge in the entire elections. I think what needs to be done is to fight as one party, which is not happening in the case of the MVA. Somehow, during the Lok Sabha, it was the India alliance which was dominating, and the Congress ended up with the maximum number of seats there. I think that the Congress is losing out. If you remember, in the seat distribution, initially the Congress got, 105. Then it came to 85, 85, 85. Now it is veering to 99 and a few others. So the Congress, which kind of lost the psychological warfare after the Haryana agitation, seems to be sort of on the decline in Maharashtra at this moment.
You touched a very important point, but that's the last aspect of our debate, which is the Dalit vote. I'll come to it, Ajit, because you addressed a part of it. It's divided into 6 parts. Then I'll completely open up. Quickly to you, Sanjay Jog.
Artigan, you know, the Maratha and OBC reservation factor is certainly at play. You know, you may be hearing or reading in the newspaper that Manoj Jarange had received about 800 plus applications from his supporters, basically to be nominated for the elections. But there has been a clear-cut division within his own fold, saying that some of them, they say that, you know, raising or mobilizing people on a majorly issue like Maratha reservation is different from entering into an electoral field. So he has said that please don't come to Antara Saravati, that is in Jalna district, and meet till tomorrow, that is the last day of filing nomination. So Marathas are never, you know, inclined to give whole way or wholeheartedly to any particular party. So both Mahayuti as well as Maha Vikas Aghadi are not so much bothered about what Jarange can do while fielding his candidates, because they are certainly banking on the support at the ground level from the Maratha community that they have, and they have already tied up with the local units to basically get further votes from that region. When it comes to OBC, Karthikeyan, this is very interesting. Considering the backlash BJP got in the Lok Sabha elections, particularly in Marathwada, part of North Maharashtra and Vidarbha, you know, in between, Bhupendra Yadav, who is a state in charge, had conducted, you won't believe, smaller and bigger ways, about 150 what they call sammelans of OBC, because there are more than 300 subcastes into the OBC, I mean communities, and, you know, small communities. So they approach, you know, couple of them, and they are trying to consolidate in OBC. So that's why the factor that you talked about, Mali, Dangar and Banjari, they are the important, you know, communities in which BJP definitely wants to get more and more kind of votes, if at all they are facing a kind of a backlash from Maratha. But both needs to be seen, because both the parties and of course MVA as well as Mahayuti are reaching out to both sides,
Okay.
and they are definitely confident to
They're
get
reaching
the
out.
votes
They're reaching
when
out
it
to the
comes.
both sides. Okay, they're reaching out to the both sides. Do you think the BJP has been able, like Eknath Shinde has been able to handle the Maratha crisis?
I think he has, and I agree with Mr. Jog that when he was pointing out that it will be foolhardy to assume that the Marathas will completely vote on one block en masse as one block, and the BJP will not get any portion of it. And very interesting thing is that which is very different. You were saying it was 3 versus 3. Basically, it is 4 versus 3. On the side of Mahayuti, this time RSS has also jumped into fray, and the impact of it was there to witness in the state of Haryana election, and I think you will also find it playing a very important role in the election of Maharashtra. RSS is back on track. It means that you started working on the ground, and no party can right now assume that that every section, whether it is the other community which the BJP is talking about, or the Maratha agitation which they feel happy about. It is whenever there is a consolidation, BJP has reaped whirlwind by counter consolidation.
Okay. The third aspect, development debt trap. Maharashtra's fiscal deficit has risen from rupees 1.10 lakh crore in June to rupees 2 lakh crore in October, and the state's debt burden is over 7 lakh crore and the second highest in the country. After the dropping in Lok Sabha polls, the Mahayuti has been on a spree of declaring freebies and community-oriented schemes to woo the voters. These schemes have increased the debt burden and fiscal deficit in the state. Now, since you have raised this point, Ajit, earlier, I wanted to draw you in piece by piece. You said a lot of things in your introduction. Now you can talk about it. Do you think that this debt is an issue, or he is going to reap the benefit of the schemes he has announced, the Chief Minister?
See, usually elections are a short-term benefit. And I think coming on the eve of the election, the various revenue schemes, especially as I mentioned, the Ladli Behna scheme of Madhya Pradesh, which was replicated, which cost the state almost, 24,000 crores. And as you rightly pointed out, that brings about a debt, but voters don't see the debt. Economists see it, right? They are, obviously the women getting those 1,500 rupees will jump for it. I think that is one of the game changers in this election. The second point that Brijesh made, that the BJP and the RSS have mended the differences. And therefore, the micromanagement at the booth will begin in a major way. I think that is going to be, at least in the assembly election, it is going to be an advantage. Of course, in the long run, Maharashtra, which is in a way economically the #1 state, if India is to reach the $5 trillion economy, Maharashtra is the first one to reach the $1 trillion, right? So that way, it is going to hurt Maharashtra. I think what the MVA is beginning to do, I just saw Jairam Ramesh's tweet, I think yesterday or today, where he points out, he brings back that Gujarati versus Marathi divide, which he points out that, even the big plan that Modi government has announced about this Tata Spain thing. Originally, it was meant for Nagpur. Now it has shifted to Gujarat. Similarly, he points out that the International Financial Services Center, which again was to be set up in Mumbai. If you remember, Dr. Manmohan Singh had started it in 2006, which again moved to Gujarat. Similarly, the Bharat Diamond Bourse was started in Surat. And what happened at one time, the diamond industry, Mumbai was getting a share of it because of the export and the trading and things of that sort. That has again shifted back to Gujarat. And similarly, other schemes, the Vedanta Foxconn scheme, for example, the chip factory moved again, back to Gujarat. So all that, I think the Congress is trying to bring that into the campaign. That was a big issue during the Lok Sabha. Recently, it had died down. But if they are able to bring it back, then I think there might be some kind of unity of Maharashtrians against, in this case, the Gujarat lobby, which dominates the BJP. So
thing, you know,
those
you said
matter
you said two things. One thing you said, Sanjay, and I want your comment on it. Economy sees the debt, the voters don't see the debt. So Sanjay, do you think that one, the freebies which have been announced by the Chief Minister are going to work, and second, do you think that debt is a non-issue, non-starter, and third, which is something which Ajit very succinctly put, the attempt to make it Gujarati versus Marathi, is it going to work out in this election? Quickly.
Let me talk about the first state of finances. Definitely, it is a major issue. I've been tracking Maharashtra for over 3 decades. You know, the state's the fiscal deficit in more than 2.03 lakh crore. It was in the 2024-25 this budget was, you know, expected to be 1,10,000 crore, increased because of 1 lakh crore of freebies and popular slogans. The debt, which was expected at 7.82 lakh crore, has already exceeded to 8 lakh crore. Quite definitely, it's an issue that needs to be given a much of focus and attention by any government that will come to power. I'll just give you a small example before, you know, you can start for another thing. You know, when in 2004, before the election, Sushil Kumar Shinde was the chief minister, he announced free power to farmers. But after 3 months, when Vilas Rao again became the chief minister, cabinet took a decision to wind up that scheme because the state was, you know, bearing a burden of more than 1,800 crore, which was impossible for the state to continue with. So the question is being asked whether the populace, as you rightly say, the freebie, that may give or garner votes during the elections, but are they sustainable? Number one. Number two, as you rightly said, the Ladli Behna or the self, you know, this training scheme and couple of other schemes which have been launched, free power up to 7.5 horsepower to the farmers. Are they going to definitely give a kind of an, you know, much needed impetus for Mahayuti? Certainly. But they are also aware that 2.36 crore women who were benefited under the Ladki Bahin scheme will not en masse vote for Mahayuti because they are also seeing that Mahavikas Aghadi is quite capable of countering that, questioning that whether the scheme will remain in, you know, or that will be wound up after the election. Now, second, you talked about what will happen to, you know, the Gujarati versus Marathi thing. Certainly, you know, the manner in which Mahavikas Aghadi is targeting Mahayuti for, you know, the loss of the more than about 2.5 lakh crore worth project out of Maharashtra, majorly to Gujarat. This is definitely going to be an issue Mahavikas Aghadi will try to take up and corner Mahayuti. So in last, you know, just to conclude, the state finances are definitely a matter of concern. Any government that will come will have to take care of it, whether they are going to give fiscal prudence and management a priority or go a kind of a go by to that. And when it comes to Marathi versus Gujarati, it will be at play. Now consider, look at it. You know, Uddhav Thackeray is just waiting to kickstart his, you know, campaign, targeting basically Shiv Sena led by Eknath Shinde, to start with the nomination of Milind Devra, that too in a Marathi dominated area, where now, of course, over the years, the Worli has become a kind of a cosmopolitan in its nature. So, but...
Okay. There's a connection problem, but I think you made the point. Yes, that will be an issue. Uddhav Thackeray is likely to campaign on it. Now let us move to another issue, and that issue is law and order. Law and order remains a big political issue at the level of state. In Uttar Pradesh, chief ministers have lost their power because of deteriorating law and order. Now, following the murder of Baba Siddique, questions about law and order in Mumbai have resurfaced. Siddique's killing has cast a shadow over the state's security situation. Though Mumbai is one part of Maharashtra, but what happens in Mumbai has ramification all over the country, and it becomes a debate point. It becomes a talking point. Now, this has prompted the opposition to swiftly criticize Mahayuti, calling it a total breakdown of law and order and breakdown of the police machinery. Vijesh, do you think that the killing of Baba Siddique has brought this issue back again?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's a killing of Baba Siddique and the brazenness with which it was carried out. and later on, it was said that it was Lawrence Bishnoi gang, and then, Lawrence Bishnoi is in Gujarat jail, and then, it was said that, there's something else is in play, or this murder was used to, send a message to Salman Khan, a very popular film actor. I think all of these and the way it was carried out, and till now, you have seen 10-15 arrests, but there's no clear motive as to why Baba Siddique was murdered, and murdered for what. It has sent shockwaves, and this will, I think Maha Vikas Aghadi will definitely use it to buttress home the point that law and order is not all that well under Eknath Shinde government, because Baba Siddique was no ordinary man. He was a very powerful politician himself, and he was a friend of who's who in Mumbai. I mean, in his party, the famous feud between Salman Khan and Shah Rukh Khan ended. So his murder and the way it was carried out will have a ripple effect and echo as far as this particular state election is concerned. It will have.
Ajit, do you think that law and order has become an issue after killing of Baba Siddique?
Yes, of course. I agree with what Brijesh pointed out, that law and order is a serious problem. Remember, the incumbent government is the Mahayuti, right? So whenever there is a law and order problem, the voters blame the incumbent government. So obviously you will see a fierce anti-incumbency. Some of it has softened because of the Rebri scheme, but I think there is a fierce anti-incumbency, especially given the fact that this government is a strange coalition government. I mean, look at Maharashtra. After 1990, no government in Maharashtra has been a majority government, all coalition governments. But this one is a particularly strange coalition, where the coalition that existed in 2019 has broken 3 or 4 times. So that brings about instability. That is connected to law and order. The moment you have governmental instability, there is a governance deficit. And when there is governance deficit, you have a law and order problem. And Bombay is particularly vulnerable to it. Why? Because Mumbai is a metro, right? In the past also, we have seen law and order has always been a big issue. If you remember the number of attacks, the Taj Hotel and things of that sort. So yes, I think right now it has happened again right before elections. Obviously, the Maha Vikas Aghadi is going to make it a serious issue. And this combined with the fact that the governance of Shinde, other than the Revdi schemes, has not been particularly successful. So I think this is going to be a serious issue during the election. How much it will help the MVA, that depends on the kind of campaign they carry around.
You're saying that so basically you're saying that corruption is an issue. Corruption is an issue. Today, 2 very senior leaders went to file their nomination because there are 2 issues which are left. And let me just introduce the issues, and I'll discuss them after play out the bites of Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis. One is corruption, an issue which is for all time, and the second issue which I am going to talk about will be the Dalit vote. 2 issues I am going to talk about, Dalit vote and corruption. But before that, I am going to introduce the bites of Eknath Shinde and Devendra Fadnavis, because today they had gone out and they are pretty sure of doing well in this election.
मैं बहुत खुश हूँ और मुझे खुशी इस बात की है कि ये मेरी कर्मभूमि है। यही से मुझे नगर सेवक भी बन गया और यही से मैं आमदार भी बन गया और यहाँ से मैं मुख्यमंत्री भी बन गया और इसलिए यहाँ के लोग मुझे बहुत प्यार करते हैं। सुबह से लेके आज यहाँ पर लोग इस रैली में शामिल है, 6 घंटे हुए, लेकिन सब घर से सब लोग उतर गए हैं। टेरिस पे है, गैलरी में है, रास्ते पे है। ऐसा नजारा बहुत कम दिखने को मिलता है और इसलिए उन्होंने अभी ये चुनाव अपने हाथ में लिया है। मेरे लाडले बहनों ने लिया है, लाडले भाइयों ने लिया है और लाडले मतदाताओं ने ये चुनाव खुद का बना लिया है। इसलिए ये पूरी तरह ये रिकॉर्ड ब्रेक इलेक्शन होगा। अब तक के सब रिकॉर्ड ये चुनाव तोड़ेगा।
देखिए, थाना ये हमेशा भगवा था, भगवा है, भगवा रहेगा। मुख्यमंत्री जी रिकॉर्ड वोटों से आएंगे, अपने ही पुराने रिकॉर्ड को वो तोड़ेंगे। थाना में 3 सीटें, 2 शिवसेना 1 बीजेपी, ये प्रचंड मतों से आएगी। थाना ये हमारी महायुति के पीछे ही होगा। हम हर चुनाव को चुनौतीपूर्ण मानते हैं, लेकिन मेरा अपना मानना है, लोगों ने मन बनाया है, लोग वापिस सत्ता हमको सौंपेंगे।
And now, corruption. Corruption is a big issue in this election, with NDA accusing Mahayuti of irregularities and favoritism in allocating prime Mumbai lands to contractors and industrialists. The recent collapse of the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj statue has intensified these allegations. I'll keep the introduction short. I'll straight away go to Mr. Jog. Mr. Jog, sometimes corruption works, Bofors work, but sometimes it doesn't work. Like Rafale did not work in 2019 for the Congress party, it flopped. It depends on the leader and it depends on the person who is actually making the charge from the opposition. So, it's a play of the issue between two important players, and it ultimately boils down to Vishwas ki Rajniti, whether people would like to believe it or not. But in this case, I know when I say corruption, I have specifically taken up the example of the statue of Chhatrapati Maharaj. Sanjay, do you think that Chhatrapati Maharaj statue has become an issue in Maharashtra?
Undoubtedly
I think there's a bit of a problem in your audio. Brijesh, you tell me.
Well, yes, it will be, because Chhatrapati Shivaji is idol of the entire Maharashtra. It's not like he's concerned or connected to only one particular community, and he's revered like God in the state of Maharashtra. And when that that day when the idol of Chhatrapati Shivaji fell down, it led to a massive hue and cry, and opposition was all at aiming at Mahayuti government led by Eknath Shinde, and the government was embarrassed. They went on to say that it was done by Navy, maintained by XYZ and all, but they somehow they couldn't escape the blot of the fact that that the Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj statue fell, and they announced they will make it a bigger, better statue at that place, but it somehow didn't wash. The second important point is, Karthikeya, when you said that that Vishwas ki Rajniti and all, I think the Vishwas ki Rajniti also, the corruption was also a key issue in 2024 general election. You remember when Prime Minister spoke about Ajit Pawar and 70,000 crore agriculture, the 70,000 crore scam. And 2 days or 3 days later, Ajit Pawar joined and he became a liability, and that led to a massive implosion within the rank and file, and also led to discomfiture of RSS. I think this particular corruption is a big issue, which the BJP has to take care of as far as this particular election is concerned. Okay. But there's also one issue which which Karthikeya we did not discuss, and I'll just take your indulgence for 1 minute, is also about the sizing of important state Kshatraps, and that may also have a bearing on the election, which is what will happen to Devendra Fadnavis.
I'll come to it at the last. First we'll discuss this, then we'll go to Dalit vote. We'll have enough time for that. Ajit, to you.
Karthikeya, since I have been covering election for 3 decades, corruption, unemployment, inflation are always the top 3 agendas in each and every election. In this case, the collapse of Shivaji's statue, Chhatrapati Shivaji statue, kind of symbolizes the rot in governance, the kind of corruption that you hinted at, the builders' lobby, the mining mafia, all that sort of, it comes very dramatically with Chhatrapati Shivaji's statue collapsing. And if you remember, Prime Minister Modi went immediately after the collapse, sort of put his head down and talked about how they are going to restore the collapse of the statue. Now that is very important. Prime Minister Modi rushing there, he realizes what impact that will have on the people of Maharashtra. Now whether corruption is going to make a deep sort of change the voting patterns will depend on how the MVA makes it an issue. Campaigns, basically what they do is they take up certain agenda, highlight that, and the voters respond to that. So it depends on the kind of campaign that is unleashed by the Vikas Aghadi on this issue. But I think corruption is a very serious issue, like unemployment, like inflation, and like several of the other issues that we just discussed.
So you agree, Ajit? You agree? I took the right example, because
Absolutely.
yes, you agree that I took the right example because people forget that it was not about just the statue. One, it was of Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and secondly, it's also about a parallel narrative where people say that in order to impress the civil society, a lot of construction has happened in the government or BJP government, which is done quickly, but
Came at a cost.
it comes at a cost. It turns out to be substandard. So there's a second narrative that Ayodhya ki reporting or Delhi's number of underpass that underwent same sort of a reportage. So it was part of that narrative. Bana diya, but it was
Quality ka nahi bana.
Quality ka nahi bana. So that is also another narrative which the BJP will have to deal with. And the last thing is Dalit vote. Now Dalits play a pivotal role in Maharashtra's politics, very different from Uttar Pradesh, it's very different from Rajasthan, it's very different from Maharashtra. The assertive politics, the Ambedkarite tradition, which is a living tradition in Maharashtra, is very different from other states in this country. According to 2011 census, the SCs account for about 12% of the state population. In 2019 assembly elections, the BJP and its then ally Shiv Sena secured 46 of the 88 seats with significant Dalit voters, while the Congress and NCP alliance won 33. However, in 2024 Lok Sabha elections, a notable shift occurred as MVA alliance led in 51 of these seats compared to Mahayuti's 32. The MVA pulled off this performance despite the presence of another contender, Vanchit Bahujan Aghadi, led by Prakash Ambedkar. The grandson of B.R. Ambedkar, which drew a blank. In light of it, the setback in Lok Sabha elections, the Mahayuti coalition has intensified its efforts to engage Dalit groups outside the Ambedkarite movement's influence. Ajit, this question goes to you first, and then I go to other guests. Do you think that Prakash Ambedkar's work will be subsumed by either of these alliances this time?
See, let me point out that the Dalit vote has always been the most important vote in Maharashtra in many ways, other than the Maratha vote and the OBC vote. And also the fact that the Dalit Panther movement in the past, the various Dalit parties, although they were sort of factionalized, 8 or 9 of them, but they were a very important and significant, I would say, Dalit voice in the entire country. In fact, the Dalit writers, the Dalit poets that Maharashtra produced are some of the best poets India has produced. So that goes in the background, of course. Right now, I think the MVA has an advantage over the Mahayuti when it comes to the Dalit vote, because the Mahars, which is the significant largest section of
for a minute, Ajit, just let's dip in. Devendra Fadnavis is part of the Satta Sammelan. Let's just dip in.
प्राथमिकता हो ही नहीं सकती। 5 साल मैं सीएम रह चुका हूं, और थोड़ी देर पहले जो फिल्म थी उसमें छोटी गलती थी, 4 दिन नहीं 3 ही दिन का सीएम था मैं, आपने 4 दिन कह दिया। मैं 5 साल पूरा सीएम रहा हूं, इसलिए अब सीएम बनना वगैरह कोई प्राथमिकता नहीं है। महाराष्ट्र में महायुति की सरकार आए, ये प्राथमिकता है। एक बहुत बड़ा विकास का एजेंडा हमने शुरू किया है महाराष्ट्र को बदलने वाला, जो आप देख सकते हैं, जो ऑन ग्राउंड शुरू हो चुका है, उसमें खलल न पड़े। एक ऐसी सरकार आए जो उन कामों को बंद न करे, उसको चलता रहने दे, महाराष्ट्र को आगे बढ़ने दे, ये प्राथमिकता है। मुख्यमंत्री बनना ये प्राथमिकता हो ही नहीं सकती।
नहीं, लेकिन अगर ये बात है तो फिर लोकसभा के ऐसे नतीजे क्यों आए?
देखिए, लोकसभा में तो एक फेक नैरेटिव चला था। पहले मैं आपके सामने लोकसभा के नतीजों को स्टैटिस्टिकली रखना चाहूँगा कि लोकसभा में जो महाविकास आघाड़ी है उनको मिले 43.9% और हमको मिले 43.6%। मात्र 0.3% से वो हमसे आगे रहे, लेकिन सीटों का बड़ा उलटफेर हुआ। इसके 2 कारण थे। एक था फेक नैरेटिव, जिसमें संविधान बदलेगा, आरक्षण जाएगा, इस प्रकार का नैरेटिव जो फैलाया गया, हम लोग उसको काउंटर नहीं कर पाए, शायद मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि महाराष्ट्र में हम लोग और कॉन्फिडेंस में थे, इसलिए जिस ताकत के साथ उसको काउंटर किया जाना चाहिए था हमने नहीं किया। हमको लगा नहीं कि इतना असर करेगा, लेकिन उसका असर हुआ। हमारे खिलाफ लोग लामबंद हुए और उसके कारण एक प्रॉब्लम हमारे सामने ये हुआ कि वोट्स का पोलराइजेशन हुआ। और दूसरा, महाराष्ट्र में एक वोट जिहाद भी हुआ, जिस वोट जिहाद में जिस प्रकार से धार्मिक स्थलों से लोगों को अपील की गई कि इस प्रकार से वोटिंग करो, अगर आप वोटिंग नहीं करोगे तो आप अल्लाह के साथ धोखा करोगे, अपने भगवान के साथ धोखा करोगे, इस प्रकार का जो अपील हुआ, तो उसका मैं केवल नमूने दाखिल आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि धुले जैसी सीट जिसमें एक लोकसभा में 6 विधानसभा आती है, 5 विधानसभा में 1,90,000 से हम आगे हैं, और मालेगांव सेंट्रल में 1,94,000 से हम पीछे गए और 4,000 से हम सीट हारे। तो ये जो वोट जिहाद हुआ, ये दोनों चीजें थी। लेकिन अब परिस्थितियां क्या बदली है? पहली तो परिस्थिति ये बदली है कि फेक नैरेटिव ब्रेक हो चुका है। लोग ये जानते हैं कि संविधान बदलने वाला नहीं है, लोगों को पता है आरक्षण पर कोई खतरा नहीं है, और सबसे बड़ी बात, अपने हाथ में संविधान लेकर घूमने वाले राहुल गांधी अमेरिका में जाकर कहते हैं कि आरक्षण को समाप्त करना पड़ेगा, उसका फॉर्मूला वो बताते हैं, और उनके ही नाना पटोले यहां आकर उसका समर्थन करते हैं। तो अब हमको लोगों को बताने की जरूरत नहीं है, ये फेक नैरेटिव भी समाप्त हो चुका है। और वोट जिहाद के माध्यम से जिस प्रकार से एक सीट से एक लोकसभा खत्म की जा सकती थी, अब ऐसा नहीं हो सकता। अब एक सीट से पूरी लोकसभा या 6 सीट इन्फ्लुएंस नहीं की जा सकती। तो मैं ऐसा मानता हूं कि जो परिस्थितियां तब बनी थी वो परिस्थितियां समाप्त हो चुकी है, और अब मुझे पूर्ण आत्मविश्वास है कि हम लोग ये चुनाव जीतेंगे।
उद्धव जी कहते हैं, आप वोट जिहाद का जिक्र कर रहे हैं, कि मदरसों की शिक्षकों की सैलरी बढ़ाना ये होता है वोट जिहाद।
पहली बात तो ये,
Let me go across immediately to my two guests, Reni Abraham and Jayant Mahinkar, who are waiting for me. Mr. Mahinkar, this is TV9 Bharatvarsh Satta Sammelan, our sister concerns taking place in Mumbai. Do you think that this, what Devendra Fadnavis has said is correct, that this time constitution and the debate on Arakshan will not work? Is it correct, or is he overconfident, sir?
No, he is trying his level best that it should not happen. But actually what he said, that we will change the constitution, that particular narrative has switched all the Dalit votes from him, from the BJP. Also, in a way, he was right while saying that in Dhulia, what all has happened. But the problem is this: in order to counter, the Mahayuti government used 2 tactics, that is, waiving the tolls on the 5 checkpost in Mumbai, and that the famous Ladki Bahin or Ladli Behna Yojana, the carbon copy of Madhya Pradesh government. Madhya Pradesh, BJP could win because of that Ladli Behna. Now, let us admit that Mahavikas Aghadi, which was way ahead of Mahayuti after Lok Sabha elections, due to these 2 schemes, Mahayuti has virtually that both are going neck to neck. And it's quite possible, the way he is saying, that if his narrative, whatever that Devendra is trying to project. Another thing that very important, particularly against the backdrop of Haryana, that I want to point out, which had come in your earlier discussion, I was watching it. You see, in Haryana, I feel that division of votes was the major reason, because on at many places, even the Congress candidate got defeated by some 500 or 600 votes. Here also, with Vanchit Bahujan Aghadi, MIM and MNS trying to make inroads in the votes of Maha Aghadi. You know, in every constituency, there are at least 5 people who are contesting, who are taking away the votes, and one of them getting elected. So BJP is concentrating more on division of votes, and in this, they are being well supported by 3 parties. I have mentioned Prakash Ambedkar's Vanchit Bahujan Aghadi, MIM, and even MNS. And this is the major factor, so that they are riding that, okay, still despite the fact that in Lok Sabha we lost in Maharashtra, but still we can win. That is what they are thinking.
Okay, Rennie, your quick comment on this vote jihad. Do you think that it's an issue which will pay BJP dividends, or it's like beating a dead horse?
Well, Karthik, it is definitely an issue, as we saw in the Lok Sabha elections. Even the Shiv Sena, Uddhav Thackeray Sena, headed by Uddhav Thackeray, has benefited by the vote accruals to the Congress party. Although it had actually registered a lower Marathi voter turnout for itself. You know, it was always having the traditional Marathi Manus voter from Mumbai, for example, going for it in the Lok Sabha elections, and actually registered a reduction from the 16% vote share of this vote block that it was always enjoying, going down to up to 7%. All the same, it benefited from the alliance of the MVA, where the Muslim vote and the Dalit vote, that is the traditional voter base of the Congress, naturally accrued to its candidates in Mumbai city. That is why we saw the Congress party initially demanding that we are responsible for the goodwill hunting in the Lok Sabha elections of Maharashtra, and therefore we should have a higher seat share into the state assembly elections going ahead. So it is certainly true that there was this en bloc voting benefit to the MVA that was against the BJP. So the BJP contested 28 Lok Sabha seats and was able to secure only 9 in Maharashtra, as against their earlier tally, of course, in 2019 with an undivided Shiv Sena, where they were able to, totally cumulatively get 41 out of 48 seats in alliance with the Shiv Sena. So it's certainly true what Mayankar has also reiterated, that this consolidated vote bank is going to play a role. And yes, the Bahujan Aghadi, headed by Prakash Ambedkar, is therefore keen. They sought an alliance before the state assemblies right now, and have said, since you all are not allying with us, we will have that marginal voter share impact going ahead by contesting in as many seats as we can.
Rennie, one thing is very clear. I'm falling short of time. I would like to say thank you to all of you. But one thing is very clear, that the whole issue of reservation constitution, it does reverberate in the Maharashtrian politics, because, it somehow propelled the Congress party in the #1 position. And I don't think Bharatiya Janata Party wants to be in that position anymore. And I think it's because of that reason Devendra Fadnavis was pretty candid. Thank you all of you for joining my show. And I leave you with this session of Devendra Fadnavis, which is taking place in Mumbai, which is part of the Satta Sammelan of TV9 भारत।
माइनॉरिटीज को फायदा हुआ है, उसमें तो कहीं नहीं लिखा था मोदी जी ने कि केवल हिंदुओं को मिलेगा, माइनॉरिटीज को नहीं मिलेगा। तो इसलिए हमारा तत्व बहुत सीधा है कि जस्टिस फॉर ऑल बट अपीजमेंट ऑफ नन।
आपने कहा कि संजय राउत को आप अपने लेवल का नहीं मानते हैं, यहाँ पर कई लोगों ने ताली भी बजाई। उद्धव ठाकरे को आप अपने लेवल का मानते हैं?
देखिए, उद्धव ठाकरे जी मुख्यमंत्री रहे हैं, एक बड़े नेता है, कभी कभी लेवल छोड़ देते हैं, ये बात अलग है, लेकिन ठीक।
तो वो कहते हैं इस चुनाव में या तो आप रहेंगे या वो रहेंगे।
देखिए, मैं आपको एक बात आपके माध्यम से उनको बताना चाहता हूं कि कोई किसी की हस्ती मिटा नहीं सकता, और राजनीति में किसी को अगर समाप्त करना है तो केवल जनता कर सकती है। किसी नेता में ताकत नहीं है, दम नहीं है कि वो दूसरे का अस्तित्व समाप्त कर दे, दूसरे का वजूद खत्म कर दे। राजनीति में और डेमोक्रेसी में, लोकतंत्र में, केवल जनता जिस समय चाहती है उस समय किसी को भी समाप्त कर सकती है।
देखिए, मेरा ये सवाल पूछने के पीछे की वजह है वो सीरीज ऑफ स्टेटमेंट्स जो कि बड़े हैरान करने वाले हैं। वो कहते हैं खटमल है, मैं अंगूठे से कुचल दूंगा। आप कहते हैं मैं कारतूस हूं। तो ये कारतूस, खटमल, औरंगजेब, चुनाव में बहुत सारी चीजें आ रही हैं।
नहीं, मैं तो कभी कभी जवाब दे देता हूं, वैसे अक्सर जवाब देता नहीं हूं, पर मैं अपनी तरफ से, देखिए, आप मेरा कोई भी भाषण निकालिए, मैं शालीनता के साथ बोलता हूं, ठीक शब्दों का इस्तेमाल करता हूँ, अपनी लेवल को छोड़ता नहीं हूँ। लेकिन कभी कभी ये होता है कि लोगों को जवाब न दो तो लगता है आदमी कमज़ोर है, तो कभी कभी अपनी ताकत का एहसास भी करवाना पड़ता है, इसलिए मैं करवाता हूँ।
अभी हमने जो एवी चलाई उसमें आप कह रहे थे कि मुझे मामूली मत समझना, मैं कारतूस हूँ। तो मैं आपसे ये समझना चाहता हूँ कि ये जो कारतूस है ये एग्जैक्टली किसको टारगेट कर रहा है? वहां पे 3 लोग हैं सामने।
ये जो कारतूस है ना, ये उनकी करतूतों को टारगेट कर रहा है, करतूतों को, व्यक्ति को नहीं। ये करतूतों को टारगेट कर रहा है और ये एमवीए को टारगेट कर रहा है, व्यक्तियों को नहीं।
अच्छा, वहां से आदित्य ठाकरे कहते हैं कि हमें हिंदुत्व सीखने की देवेंद्र फडणवीस जी से जरूरत नहीं है।
हाँ, मैं उनको हिंदुत्व क्या सिखाऊंगा? आजकल वो हिंदुत्व ओवैसी जी से सीख रहे हैं, आजकल वो हिंदुत्व वो किस किस से सीख रहे हैं बताने की आवश्यकता नहीं है। वो समाजवादी पार्टी भी उनको हिंदुत्व सिखा रही है। जिन समाजवादी पार्टी के नेताओं ने राम मंदिर पर जिस समय हमारे कोठारी बंधु चढ़ रहे थे तो उनको गोली मार दी, कई कार सेवकों को मार दिया, अब उनसे हिंदुत्व वो सीख रहे हैं अबू आजमी से, तो मेरी तो जरूरत ही नहीं है।
अच्छा, मैं आपसे फिर से वो सवाल पूछता हूं, क्योंकि जब ये चर्चा थी कि देवेंद्र जी यहां पर आ रहे हैं तो मैं वहां पर बैठा था, कई लोगों ने मुझसे पूछा कि जरा उनसे ये जरूर पूछेगा, और कई बड़े सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट ने मुझे मैसेज भी किया, मैं आपको सीरीज दिखा सकता हूं कि उनसे सवाल जरूर पूछेगा कि आपके महायुति का चेहरा कौन है मुख्यमंत्री के लिए?
देखिए, जैसे ही महाविकास आघाड़ी अपना चेहरा घोषित करेगी 15 मिनट में हम अपना चेहरा घोषित कर देंगे।
और वो भी यही बात कहते हैं।
अभी तो देखिए, हमारे लिए तो पक्का है, चुनाव के लिए गवर्नमेंट जा रही है, गवर्नमेंट के मुखिया तो मुख्यमंत्री होते हैं। एकनाथ शिंदे जी हमारे मुख्यमंत्री है, हमारी गवर्नमेंट के प्रमुख वो है, हमारे नेता वो है, इसलिए हमारे पास तो एक चेहरा है गवर्नमेंट का जो चुनाव के लिए जा रहा है। उनको पूछिए उनका चेहरा
तो
कौन है।
आप ये कह रहे हैं कि वही चेहरा है और वो बाद में भी वही आएंगे?
देखिए, इसके बारे में बहुत साफ शब्दों में इससे पहले भी मैंने बताया है कि चुनाव के बाद मुख्यमंत्री कौन बनेगा इसका जो फैसला है, चूंकि एकनाथ शिंदे जी उनकी पार्टी के अध्यक्ष है, अजित पवार जी उनकी पार्टी के अध्यक्ष है, तो ये 2 पार्टियों के अध्यक्ष और मेरी पार्टी का पार्लियामेंट्री बोर्ड ये मिलकर तय करेगा कि कौन प्रमुख होगा। जो तय होगा उसके पीछे सब लोग खड़े होंगे।
Hey, why are so many lights on? Is it Navroz?
Settling accounts, uncle?
No, writing a love letter. Check your accounts every day and ensure there is no mismatch. Exchange sends trade